coming up this weekend. This is Brad Johnson on the microphone, attempting to call the game tonight, Vandicon, between the team skipped by Jeff Oliger and the team skipped by Merrick Rocca. Oliger, the team, appears to have lost the toss, and they will be throwing first stones. They will have yellow tonight. Their lead, Rob Maynard, is getting in the hack now. And Rob Maynard, the first stone out turn. Centerline guard is the call from Jeff Oliger. Stone finishes as kind of 2 guard. Sorry for the delay there, just talking to good old We now got Pat Howard delivering the stone. First stone for the Hammer team, that's Team Ronca, consisting of Pat Howard, Brian Gagnon, Dion Orr, and Merrick Rocca himself. Calls an out-turn draw of the wing. Looks like Brian is pushing it, try to get it in the wings here. And that's a nice looking shot. Got a counter right there. Now it's something that a lot of skips will do, especially nowadays at the club level. Put a stone in the rings early on. Odds are that the non-hammer team is going to be trying to create some offense, so they'll probably ignore that stone. So it's nice to have a counter early. If you do play a nice clean house game with the hammer, you're able to use that as a counter later on. Rob Maynard with his second stone. Looks like a out-turn draw around the guard. Now, one thing I know about playing with Rob is his out-turn is significantly stronger than in-turn, so that is something that a lot of times I've heard his preferred turn, and is something that the skip will account for and call for him. So even though that guard is a little to the right of the center line as you're looking down the sheet, the out-turn was still the chosen draw. And with that guard being high enough, there's plenty of room to draw behind, and we get good curl here in Schenectady, so never an issue. Now Merrick, sitting 1, it looks like. It's close, but it looks like red is sitting 1. Merrick is calling a in-turn draw behind the 2 staggered guards, or the guard and the top 12 yellow. See if they can beat them to the button. The risk is obviously you don't want to leave this light and leave another center guard for the opposing team. And this looks a little light, but strong sweep gets this to bite top 8. It is second count. Hard for anyone to bury behind, so that'll get the job done. Nice shot there from Pat Howard, the lead. Jeff Oliger does not have hammer, but wants to get rid of that rock. That is a danger rock to him. That is something that is going to be very hard for him to control this end if he doesn't get rid of it. So he's having Chad Elohim on the second. Take it out with a down weight hit. Hack weight is what he called. Try to bump it and then roll behind that corner guard there. And that stone won't necessarily be something that's counting, but just by having it in the rings as a counter, that'll be a nice opportunity to potentially cause a force. However, it looks like while the weight was good here, the line was a little wide, and unfortunately it does flash here. So Team Ronca is in the driver's seat here. Merrick looks like he's calling back 4, back 8 weight. Wants to kind of split that red rock a little undercover. When you're the hammer team, you kind of want to keep the middle open, both for if anything goes wrong, having the last draw to the button is an option for you. But additionally, it's nice to just get more counters, more stones kind of out to the wings. If the other team wants to play defense, they're going to have to chase you out wide as opposed to progressing the end for their purpose. So this is a nice call here. The stone seems to be hanging out a little wide, but it is cutting nicely. This will at least stay in the house, even if it doesn't split. Unless Jeff can sweep it out, and he does. Great sweep by Jeff there to get that out of the rings. Looked like it was coming down late, but went through. So right back to where we were just 2 shots ago. 2 flashes, kind of hung out wide. So that's something to look for on that line there. And you'll notice that Jeff Olger is now calling a significantly tighter broom on this one for Chad Alabipon. Doesn't want the same mistake that just happened on the previous shot. The risk here is you don't want to crash that guard up front. That guard not only will prevent you from making a shot, but also if you take that out, you're never going to steal any points this end if you're the non-hammer team. Unfortunately, they are going to take that stone. So now definitively red is sitting 1-2, and there's really nothing going on for yellow in terms of a steal situation. So this end is definitely playing to the advantage of Team Ponca, sitting 2 with hammer, and they're delivering the stone here. It looks like Merrick's going to try the same call that he had for Brian before. Got a lot more room to work with here now that pesky center guard's out of the way. It's a game of inches. Chad's shot before was really close. If that gets around the center guard, that's a rock that's going to be annoying for Team Rock for the rest of the end. Even if it's not a counter, it's at least a danger rock. It's a nice axe pretty much as a tight guard. Alas, not to be. This stone looks pretty good. They're sweeping it hard to try to get it there. It looks a little light. It will get a little separation. They're going to sit 1, 2, 3. Not bad at all. There is a double there, but again, when you have the hammer, getting rocks in the house, kind of spread apart is always the goal. If the other team's throwing takeouts and you have hammer, you know you're in a good spot. So now we have the first vice rock for Team Oliger. That's with Todd Milha. Nice low delivery. Todd's definitely throwing takeout weight here, trying to get both those red stones out. Ideally getting to nose of that top red that you see there. And this looks like it's hanging out wide again. And even with Chad Alahipon trying to push, that's barely going to tick that red rock. And unfortunately, does not get anything productive done. Eric now knows that takeout's coming, so he's debating between getting another rock in the house or trying to guard that up. You see downrange Pat Howard was signaling for possibly bumping that top rock. Not necessarily a bad decision, especially with, it's tough to tell. That red probably would not be out counting that yellow that's top 12, but again, basically be a possible counter later on in a really strong position. Looks like they're just going for a straight guard here. Not a bad call. It does give Oliver a chance to be aggressive if they want to. But if the aggression doesn't work out, and aggression here meaning a draw, then Merrick's in the driver's seat for a 3 or 4 under here right off the bat. The stone's looking a little light though. Sweepers are pounding it, but are not going to get that over the hog line. And that gives Jeff another chance to hit this double with Todd. Todd coming out definitely with plenty of weight. This line has been hanging out a little bit. We've seen a lot of stones hang wide, with the exception of Chad's second stone that ticked the guard earlier. But this one they got Chad pushing again. It's gonna hit the rock. Not with a ton of weight. It will get that back red out of play. That other red actually just splits out wide. Definitely not a bad position for Team Ronca. It was still beneficial though for Team Oliver to get one stone out of play there. We have Dion Ward throwing his second rock now, and we have skip rocks left. So it looks like Merrick here is going to try to draw around that high yellow, try to get something in there. Pros and cons to this approach here. The con is you really don't want to miss narrow and tap up their yellow, but definitely a lot of good misses otherwise. This one's definitely not going to miss narrow. This looks like a shot that's going to hang out wide, but it will set third count. Again, when you have the hammer, you're okay with that. It does give Oliger a chance to hit, and if he gets a good roll, really in either direction, could minimize the damage this end for sure. But certainly a hit is going to be the call here from Jeff. Jeff, known for throwing decent weight takeouts, tends to prefer hitting to drawing. This is an obvious hit situation for Jeff to minimize damage. If you miss a draw here light, you're staring down the barrel of a 4 or 5 ender. You get the hit, and even if you don't get the roll here, most likely you're never going to give up more than 3 this end. Which is not great, but not nearly as devastating as a 4 ender. Over the hack. Reminder that this line has been hanging out a little bit wide, so he's got to be careful not to miss this wide and or too heavy. Stone's on the way. They have Maynard pushing it early, which means that it does look like it's hanging wide. Rob Maynard is known for being one of the strongest sweepers at the club. Oh, and I missed that call. That must have been the called shot, and that's not a bad result at all. If that's the called shot, that's excellent. Even without getting double, getting that one rock out of play and sitting on top of shot rock tightens up this scoring area, which is always the goal for the non-hammer team. If you're not going to score, keep that scoring area tight. It's now effectively out-counted that back red, and Merrick's got to do something with it right here. Not back red, sorry, the biter on the 8-foot red. Merrick's got to do something with it. He's got to be careful to try to pick out that red. Ideally not lose his red in the 4-foot, and ideally not lose his shooter either. This is a very, very high-precision shot that Merrick has to make. The safe shot is just blowing it all up, but then you're looking at, 2-ender. Still, that's always the goal when you're the hammer team. Take your multiple points, but this was shaping up to be an incredibly strong end, and perhaps now not as strong. But if he makes a perfect shot here, a 3 or 4 ender is very much in the cards for Merrick. Stone's on the way. This one's actually narrow. We haven't seen that yet on this line, but Brian Gagne is sweeping, trying to hold that line. And he's doing a good job of holding it. It looks like it's going to hit pretty close to nose, and it does. What a perfect shot. Perfect shot there. Keeps the shooter around. Doesn't even touch the back one. Knocks it out of play. Merrick is now sitting 1, 2, 3. And I think if you're Oliger, you got to go for that double. Even if you don't get the double, but you keep the shooter around and maybe roll to the right behind that cover. It's a high precision shot, but if you can do that, you can cut them down to 2 this end. Possibly 1 if you can make the double 2, but regardless, he's got to hit something out of play here. There's really no draw path to kind of tuck in anywhere and minimize damage. This is a hit all the way. You see some good discussion now between the skip advice. Todd and Jeff have a lot of chemistry, having played together for multiple years, making sure that they get the right call here, discussing where they want to hit, possibly if they miss, where the good miss is, pro side miss, which turn they want to take. You see the sweepers switch sides. And that's no disrespect to Chad, but Rob Maynard is one of the strongest sweepers in the club. I'm sure they want Rob on the side where the stone will be curling. A lot of times teams will do that. Typically you only want 1 sweeper on takeouts. Usually it's more dire for the inside curl sweeper to be on it. Pushing is perhaps less effective, especially at the club level, so it's good to have Rob Maynard on the inside in case Jeff misses this a bit narrow. But they're not sweeping it yet. Alright, now they're hopping on it, but looks like this is pretty good. Oh, and that's just a perfect double right there by Jeff. Leaves the yellow. Hard to tell if it's shot or not. It looks to the overhead camera that maybe red is still sitting shot, but regardless, great shot from Jeff, guaranteeing that Merrick at most is going to get a 2-ender here. Probably just to be safe so you don't have to come to a measure. It's probably the best shot anyways. It's just hitting nose on that yellow. Should be sitting second count. I think it'll outcount both those yellows that are on the edge of the 12-foot. So, shot call here is hit nose or close to nose. If you're a little off nose and you roll in, that's that's never a bad thing. You obviously don't want to lose the shooter if you're Merrick, but you really just got to get this red out of play. Keep the red in play. Don't let it roll to the edge of the 12-foot. Anything that's nose or just off nose is going to be perfect here. And the in-turn takeout thrown. Looks like a good control weight. Does look a little narrow. They have Brian sweeping it right off the bat. Oh, now he's off. Now they have Pat Howard pushing it. This line has been running straight, and this looks pretty close to perfect. Just off nose, you see a little bit of a roll and spin, but that's perfectly fine. Really well executed end by Team Ronka. Nicely done by Oliger to minimize the damage. And Team Ronka capitalizes on the hammer and gets their 2-0 lead going to the second end. While we have a pause, let's take a look at some of the other sheets around, see what the score's at. Back to the feature game here. Looks like first stone not in play. Hog or through. Most likely it would have been a center line guard call, so knowing how it's early in the game, I didn't see it. Admittedly, ice tends to be slow. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a hog. But no stones in play. Hammer team gets a chance to throw up their corner guard if they wish, and this looks like a really nice corner guard from Rob Maynard. Just looks like it's on the inside of the TV line there. Good spot for a corner guard. Maybe a couple inches out would have been better, but not going to complain about something like that. I was very worried about. We have Pat Howard here throwing his second rock. And this looks like it's going to be a nice looking rock. Going to probably be another guard. It is a little bit more towards the corner, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It is, if you see, working its way back towards the center here. There's really nothing that Oliger's going to want to do with that on the inside. He wants to come around the wide way. This line does run straight, so I do believe that there's going to be plenty of room to get around those corner guards. But that guard placement from Pat Howard is not in a bad spot at all. You can definitely start to build your way towards controlling the front of the house, more towards the center line. So even with the Hogstone, presumably Hogstone to start, there's no issues there for Team Ronka. And this stone here looks like it's going to be a little bit light from the lead, Rob Maynard. So it just acts as a very wide corner guard. Probably a stone that can be promoted later. So we got all stones on the right side of the house here. Got to dictate play towards that side of the house. Merrick's going to try to bury one in there. Try to tighten up that scoring area, as mentioned before. That's the goal of the non-hammer team. We really want to not leave opportunities for a big end for the other team, and a lot of times those big ends are crafted when you leave the scoring area very wide. Right now there's no stones in play, so not too much danger. Even if this is left as a guard, which it looks like it's going to be, that's a fine miss. Odds are, at the club level, Jeff Oliger is going to ignore that, and you've basically built your end back up as a non-hammer team. So really nicely done to change the pace and tempo of this end if you're the non-hammer team and Team Ronka here. Looks like Oliger is going to use that center guard, knowing that if he can skinny past that high guard, he has plenty of room to curl under with all the guards on the right side. If you're looking down the sheet from the far hack here. So Chad Alakipon is going to try to throw a good draw here. And Oliger is telling him not to sweep. He must think that it's a little heavy, perhaps a little wide, perhaps both. Definitely gets around the guard, definitely looks a little heavy. Ronca's getting ready to sweep it. And he doesn't need to put much of a broom on it at all. It's easily through the house. Just a little too hot from Chad. But good attempt there. And so now you're going to see this is the type of end that Merrick wants to play as the non-hammer team. Draw behind the center guard. Lots of traffic up front. Makes it easier to steal a point or multiple points. So what was shaping up initially to be a good end for Team Oliger has now, with no stones in the house, starting to take the shape of a end that Team Ronca will be pleased with. This stone is coming in a little hot. This stone from Todd Noha. Just to the back four. Not a big deal at all. And my mistake, that was from Brian, not from Todd Noha. Todd's on the other team. Correction there for the commentator. That's why this is a test run, so bear with me as the first-time commentator here, doing it solo. I've got a tag teamer to help me out here, but we'll get this corrected by this weekend, I promise. Draw here from Chad is much lighter. The sweeper's on it. It does look like it's going to come up short. And unfortunately now, if you're Team Oliger, that back four stone, or the stone that's almost back four, is not only a counter, but now it's guarded. And this is definitely playing to the tempo of the team without the hammer. That's Team Ronca. What's Merrick trying to do here? It looks like maybe he's trying to come through that port. There is a port. If you get around that center guard, it's high enough where it can definitely curl and get under cover. Stones away from Dion Moore. They have Pat Howard sweeping it. This is the part that I definitely do have to commentate because as the audience cannot see this, but Pat is on the stone. Now you can see it. And what a sweep by Pat Howard to get that around. And that is a really pretty looking shot right now. It's going to go back four, but you had to have Pat sweep that the whole way. There's really nothing you could have done to use that guard. So that's as good as it could have been based on where and when Dion used that stone. So now it looks like Oliger is going to try to follow that same line. Now there's backing. So if he can get around that center line guard with Todd Noha here, he's looking to at least get his 1 point. Hopefully, if Ronca can't once again get on top of it. But it looks like now they're playing the 4-foot game, so mission accomplished at the very least of tightening up the scoring area if you're Team Ronca. Very tight room. Now this line has been running straight, but having played with Todd before, I know sometimes his handle gets a little light and sometimes his stones do cut a little bit. So let's see what happens here. This is a very finicky shot here. Got to get around the center guard, but got to be inside those guards out in the corner. Looks like this one's actually wide and heavy, so it's going to chip off that yellow, and it's just going to act as another virtual center guard, just off center there. Unfortunate there from Todd. Looks like it was a little hot. The line was probably pretty good actually, just a little heavy. Chips off that stone and rolls both stones kind of out wide. And now comes back to that center line guard. You see the high center guard is kind of a headache here for Team Oliger. And it gets back to earlier in the end, if Team Oliger had maybe a stone or two in the house, maybe Jeff thinks about peeling that center guard, but since nothing's in the house, he wanted to use it to draw behind. It couldn't get the draw down, and now you've seen the shape of this end completely work in favor of Team Ronca, the non-hammer team.
When there was only
Ranka's a nice little promote here. And now they got 3 stones all inside the 8 foot, 1 basically biting the button if you're Team Ranka. However, that promote did open up the draw path just a little bit more for Team Oliger. So I wonder if Jeff will try that draw again. Maybe try to corner freeze on the inside of that red, bump it a little bit if it's heavy. Although if it's heavy and it gets around that high center guard, it's going to be hard to actually get over to that stone. It probably does have to be draw weight. Jeff's looking for something else here. It looks like he maybe wants to try a double promote on that yellow. Double hit. Interesting. I don't know if those stones are lined up there. We'll have to see. But it looks like he's trying to get rid of those yellows. Maybe at the very least he's trying to just open it up. He does have 2 stones after this, so it is possible he's just trying to open it up, give himself a really nice opportunity to hit, at least salvage the end, or draw to backing with his hammer stone. The stone from Todd looks a little wide. It's only going to pick out that top one. So unfortunately, while maybe the angle's better now if you want to run that yellow is still a very irritating guard for Team Oliger. Team Ranka discussing now Dion Moore, Merrick Ranka, discussing the shot that they want to do here. Looks like they probably want to put another one in, but leave this one maybe a little high. Probably top 8, top 12. I didn't see where the broom was placed, but I assume that's what they want to do here. Really just try to take away the draw path, take away any option that Team Oliger has to get in there. It really could make this a quick game if they execute their shot here, because Team Oliger will be staring down the barrel of possible steal of 3. I wonder if I should share a fun fact here about Merrick. Out of respect for him, I guess I won't. But it's good to see him playing at a high level, as he often does. He'll be prepping the ice this weekend for the College Nationals. Definitely, he is the ice guru at the club, so he'll be working with USA Curling, getting the best ice possible for our college kids who are going to be coming here, practicing on Thursday, playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Going for gold. Draw on its way here. It looks like it's light. They got both Pat and Brian trying to push it so it doesn't hang out. And this is going to be short of the house, but that's not a bad result. Remember, if you're the non-hammer team, you just really want to tighten the scoring and make it hard for the other team to get in there. That certainly did that job. So while it's not a 4th counter, it definitely takes away the draw path for Oliger that way, and it looks like his shot here is trying to run off that yellow. The question is, what weight does Jeff want to throw? It looks like they're calling control. You see that hand signal there. Todd tapping his elbow. That is a indicator that they want to throw control weight. Control, the idea being a takeout weight that'll easily remove a rock from play, but the sweepers should have a decent amount of control on. If they need to curl it, they can curl it. If they need to hold the line straight, they can hold the line straight. So this is a safe takeout weight that they want to just really get this line perfect on and run that yellow rock back. And if they miss it, the pro side miss of hitting wide on the yellow is not a bad miss, because then you at least open it up. Force Merrick to have to throw something up there to guard. And this is really close, this shot here. And oh, that's a beautiful shot. It looks like yellow is sitting shot. I can't tell for certain. Dion Moore seems to think that yellow is sitting shot. That is an excellent shot from Jeff Oliger right there. He has had 2 missiles tonight that have just really bailed out his team with just perfect lines. So, really nicely done from Jeff. He's making eye contact with me right now and shaking his head. He's happy. He's a happy camper. So now the question here, if you're Merrick, is what do you want to do here? You can always concede one. You can always throw up a guard, and it's going to be almost impossible for Oliger, at the club level at least. I mean, even at the professional level, it'd be difficult. But to get anything more than one here, having to get a stone inside the forefoot. But it looks like they want to be aggressive here. They want to try to run that red and pick that yellow out. And if they do it correctly, they could sit 3, could sit 2, regardless, make Oliver have to make another fantastic shot up against 3. So, see if the elite shot making continues here after Jeff just made an excellent run back to sit shot for yellow and really flip this end around, which for the last 8 to 10 rocks or so has really been played to the tempo of Team Honka. Stone's on the way. Looks like they're trying to push it with Brian Gagno. It's a little wide. It's going to hang wide. Can they chip it? No, they're just going to hit the outside of the red. And they actually have opened up that draw path now. It's not an easy draw path, and it may actually just run up on their yellow, but it is there if they want to try it. It looks like Jeff wants to try it. Keep in mind, at the weight that they want to throw here, draw weight, that stone is going to curl at the end. And if it curls and it rubs up on the top of their own yellow, they're only going to get 1 out of this anyway. So this has got to be a stone that hangs wide enough to just get inside that corner guard red you see there. That's really like if you draw a line right in front of Todd's room. Maybe not that one. He seems to have given a little more ice, which I think is a good call. But that higher red corner guard, he wants to skin just inside that and ideally get around his yellow, because if he takes that yellow or he hits a significant enough piece of his own yellow on the draw, he's only going to get 1 here. So while the draw path is there, it's a tricky shot for 2. Stone's on the way. It's looking a little wide, a little heavy, and this actually could be trouble. They really don't want to promote red in, and that might be exactly what they're doing here. Oh boy. Oh well, it's enough weight where they're able to sweep it out, so Oliver still gets 1. He kind of dodged the bullet there. But that was certainly too heavy, and that's why you saw that hang out wide, especially on that line, which we've been seeing as an audience run straight for a while. But they get their 1. Great shot on his second to last shot for Mr. Oliger, and it's 2-1 at the end of 2. We will check back in on some of the other sheets here. Special thanks to Pat Howard, who has set up these microphones to hopefully work well for the weekend upcoming. Not sure if the on-ice mic is working particularly well right now, but audience at least gets to hear my lovely voice commentate this game here. Sheet 3. If we look at some of the other sheets. To our feature sheet now. Looks like Team Oliger got a really nice center guard from Rob Maynard on his first stone. Pat Howard seems to have a biter. on the side, so good setup for both teams. Rob Maynard here a little deep and a little wide on his second stone. Still, it's starting to force play towards the center. Force play towards the 4-foot. It's not a bad miss, especially if you're the non-hammer team here. Start to get some rocks in play. Start to make the hammer team think about what you're doing. But Merrick is going to ignore it. He looks like he wants to split the house here. At the pro level, that is definitely the call. At the club level, probably the right call too, but I've seen so many times at the club level, teams want to split the house, and one of those two stones ends up just being an ultimately meaningless corner guard. So ideally this stone gets in the house here, but it looks like the problem is not the guard here. The problem is it might be too heavy, but this is checking nicely. Oliver's going to try to sweep it. We'll see. And they get it out enough. Not out of play, but out of the ring, so does not split the house, which does not put any pressure on Oliver here to really have to do anything. That biter, that red biter, is really not a huge factor. Chasing it would probably just lead to a hit game this end. Oliver wants to try to get back in it. Down 2-1, probably needs to start thinking about crafting some offense without the hammer. I mean, it's early, but especially at the club level, sometimes teams really actually prefer to not have the hammer if they want to create offense. Sometimes giving up the hammer is a better thing. You can get into a rhythm without hammer, because if you steal, you get to not have hammer again. And if you steal again, you get to not have hammer again. So definitely teams I've seen at the club level get into a real groove, just throwing draws and guards in the center. A lot of good misses, a lot of basic shots, high percentage makes at the club level. It makes sense. Hammer, you got to be a little bit more creative. Merrick here is going to call the hit and roll to the wing. It's an acceptable miss if it's narrow, and it just peels that center guard, Merrick says. So this is trying to get value out of any shot here. The miss you really don't want from Brian getting in here is a miss wide. Any shot that hits a stone is a good shot. The ideal shot is you hit that yellow and roll a little to the wing. And unfortunately, this does look wide. It may get a piece, but is it going to get enough to really do anything? No, it's not. It does take it to the back of the house, which, if you're the hammer team, you don't really worry too much about back of the house stones like that. So it does accomplish at least a little bit of something. But now with Oliver sitting 1-2, that biter that Pat Howard threw first stone, probably unlikely to ever count in this end. And Al Heapon, with his second stone, is going to throw probably top 8, out-turn draw. Sweepers are on it, trying to push it right now. Both sweepers trying to push it. Some people don't love that, but when Rob Maynard is on your team and sweeping, you move out of the way and let Rob Maynard sweep that rock. And again, that's no disrespect to Todd Noha. That's just strong sweeper, leverage him, use him as much as possible. It's such a huge advantage at any level, but especially the club level when we're not perfect with our draws, and we could use some help with the sweepers to make shots. And with how well that stone's buried and where it is, just right on the button. Perfect shot by Chad Alahipon. Merrick's just going to straight peel that center guard. Some people watching this might say, well, why not run it back? Well, the risk of running it back is if you just miss off nose, you end up leaving a red as a center guard, like it is right now. But you do get the double here. What I was going to say is if Brian had missed that maybe a quarter of an inch wider, only one stone gets out of play. His stone doesn't roll much, his shooter, and so there's just another center guard, and now you've basically wasted the shot. Whereas if you peel it, you force the other team to make a perfect guard in terms of their line and placement. But when you make that double like that, you definitely flip the end around. You always could run back your own stone later if you're the hammer team. At the club level, you assume that the runbacks aren't going to be made all that often, so you can see Oliver is going to draw behind that center guard, that red center guard now. Assuming that they're not going to call it run back with Dion Moores, even if they do bury it. And they might. I mean, if they were to bury it perfectly, they probably would try it, with the miss obviously being you can peel that center guard and that's acceptable. And that stone goes a little deep. Does rub some of the backing, so Yellow is sitting 1, 2, 3. Really good position for a force. Or at least they can start thinking about a force, but not really a good position for a steal. If the house were to stay similar to this come skip stones, Merrick's going to have a very easy draw, at least for his one at the end, which is still a good result for Team Oliger, but not the steal that perhaps you were looking to get out of this when the end started. That being said, this is a kind of a neutral end in terms of the play here. Either team really can do what they want to do. Just because the hammer team doesn't have any stones that are counting right now, and, yellow's sitting 3, doesn't mean that they can't. Now this doesn't help here, leaving a second virtual center guard. That, unfortunately, as I mentioned last time, plays the advantage of the non-hammer team probably, so that's really an unfortunate miss, especially knowing that for the most part you had backing. Perhaps they could have considered drawing the other way if they were going to try to go behind the center guard. That way, Dion Ward knew that he can miss heavy, and if he misses heavy, he can play with that backing. Definitely unfortunate miss there. It is wide enough, and it's on the straight line enough that Oliger doesn't want to try drawing wide that way. He'd rather just come the same way he's been throwing with that out turn. Stone is on its way. It's a little wide. A little soft. They're trying to sweep it now. But if you're the non-hammer team, you're okay with it staying high, and that's exactly what happens there. There's no issues with that rock there. If Ronco wants to hit that rock, yellow's still going to be sitting at least 1, 2, possibly 1, 2, 3. Most likely 1, 2, 3, unless they get a double. So, looks like Ronco's going to try to draw the wide way, using the guard that Dion Ward just threw on his previous shot. They are going for the big hit and roll, and that looks exactly like what they're doing. I must have missed the call there. Not a bad result. Getting it out of play, rolling out of play is not ideal. Yellow is still sitting 1, 2, 3, so it didn't necessarily advance the end. Would have been nice to get to the inside of that, or even nosing that would have probably been an okay result. No, rolling out wide, unfortunately. We've seen that line run straight all night. Well, I say all night, it's only been 3 ends that I've been watching. As far as I'm concerned, all night. Could ask the women here in the war room who played on Sheet 3 if that was the same for them. I would assume so. As having played Sheet 3, I know that the pole side does have a tendency at times, especially up weight, to hang out a bit wide.
Right. It gives you more time. Don't worry about the...
So we're on skip rocks now. First skip stone for the non-hammer team, Team Oliger. Gotta like his position right now, sitting 1, 2, 3. While it's not a strong stealing position, it is definitely a pressure situation. And it's not necessarily intuitive as to how Ronco's going to get in there anyways, so definitely starting to build something here. And this stone's coming in a little light, but again, light's not bad if you're the non-hammer team here. A biter would be perfect, and that's exactly what they get there. That's a really nice shot from Jeff Oliger. Control the front of the house, sit 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so looking at Team Ronco here, looks like they want to go for that hit here. With the tightness of that broom, I assume they're going to try to hit and get a little roll action out of it, try to roll into the 12-foot. If they can probably get to sit second count. I don't think they can sit shot unless they get the double out of it with that one that's in the 8-foot in the back, but regardless, this will at least open it up. If Merrick makes the shot perfectly, take a lot of pressure off of what right now is looking like a really good end for Team Oliger. Out turn takeout. Looks like he's throwing close to normal weight. They have Pat on the stone immediately. Oh, and they have him off. Now they have him back on. Again, audience can't see this, but I can looking down the line. This line looks pretty good. Really nice hit and a good roll, and that's going to sit second count. That is a really nice shot. That's exactly what Merrick wanted to do there. Exactly. That's my good friend Joan here saying, cut him down to one. Team Oliger probably wants to put that stone right back. And at the very least, force Merrick to only get one, or get that steal even with that back 8 rock if the line's perfect. But that was a really nice shot from Merrick to at least breathe a sigh of relief here. Because now, realistically, you're never going to give up more than 2 here, even if everything goes wrong. And so, giving up 2 is a lot better than giving up a steal of 4 or a steal of 3. And realistically, the shot is also going to be easier for Merrick. He's going to have an option to get his 1, unless Oliver puts him in a perfect spot here. Probably biting top 8 online with that back 8 rock. But this looks a little heavy. They're actually going to have Chad try to push it to get it in. Well, this is going to sit second count, but it is going to set up a double for Merrick or a hit and roll. Depends on how aggressive he wants to be. If you're American, you make the double here, you get 2 out of it. But if you don't make the double, you do risk giving up the steal. You could also just do a safe hit kind of to the inside and just take your 1 and see if you get the double. And it looks like they're just going to try to throw that same weight Merrick just threw. Looks like if he gets to nose or maybe slightly inside nose, but not much more than that, you do want to hit that back yellow. But Merrick can definitely get his 2 here. And that's the risk, though, of Jeff's shot. So while they're sitting 2, and the casual audience might be like, well, that's great. Well, he wanted that to be probably 2 feet shorter. Sitting second count, but making it a really tough double. With how these stones are spaced apart, that's not that difficult of a double at the club level, especially for someone of Merrick's caliber. But we'll see. Rock's on the way. Pat Howard on the sweep already. Calling hard. Looks like this one's going to be narrow. This is going to be pretty close. At the very least, they want to at least get that 1 stone. Ooh, this is not going to get the double. It's actually still going to be a steal of 1. It does at least pick out the stone. But Jeff is not punished for putting that last stone deep. And there is still a steal of 1. We have a tie game, 2-2 at the end of 3 ends. Team Rocco will retain the hammer, which is an advantage for the even ends. So not all is lost for Team Rocco there, but the game is now tied. Well, let's go around and check on the other sheets. Back to our future sheet. Once again, the end is set up about as you'd expect. Hammer team puts 1 in the corner. It's really not a big deal that it's in the back there. Like, the non-hammer team's not really going to play to that. So a lot of people get worried, like, oh, I want it to be high. Really, it's not a big deal, especially at the club level. Actually, you could argue even at the pro level, it might actually be better in the back. If you leave a stone up high in the 12 foot, you do leave the option for a big hit and roll later if you need to get to the center. Again, that's more at the pro level than at the club level, but regardless, no issues with Pat's first stone being there at back 12 on that wing stone. It's just a counter, just something that if Team Ronca does their job, that can end up counting at the end. And it doesn't act as a centerline guard, which is one of my biggest pet peeves when I have hammer, and one of my stones ends up being a centerline guard. Just helps the other team. But Rob Maynard threw two perfect centerline guards, both on the center line exactly, so you can't tick those. But it helps when you can draw right behind, like Pat Howard has done here, to the top 8. That is a really great rock. I can't stress enough how good of a rock that is. It's going to be tough to bury better than that. And Team Ronca has the hammer here. They're sitting 1-2. That is just an excellent shot from Pat Howard. It's one of those risky shots. If he leaves that shorter, that's just another center guard, and it gets to that pet peeve I was talking about. But that's just an excellent draw. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Looks like Jeff's going to try to better that by drawing. So the goal here for Chad Alakipon is to throw it a little deeper and just skinny around that red and try to bury basically on the button. Very precise shot. Very precise. Stone's on its way. The sweepers are holding off right now. It is coming down. They're having Todd sweep for curl. Trying to push it. Weight seems to be there. Oh, this is really nice. Oh, and a little late on the call there, and it ticks. Oh, that's frustrating. That was arguably a perfect stone, and unfortunately, because you needed perfection, Jeff Older tried to skinny that guard as tight as he could, and it just curled a hair more than he wanted to. And so now that hangs out wide open for Team Ronca. He can hit and roll either way, really. He can hit and roll under center, and that's a great result. He can hit and roll wide, and that's a great result. Really, the worst result would actually be, well, besides flashing, perhaps, would be hitting and sticking. You really want to get some sort of roll here if you're the hammer team. This looks narrow out of the bat, off the hand. Gotta work on mediums before this weekend. Can't trip on the words. And this looks pretty good. It's gonna hit the inside. Oh, just ticked the inside. Did not hit it. Well, there's the flash. And now Jeff wants to throw a guard. He is sitting shot rock. It wouldn't be a bad idea necessarily to try to draw behind either.
Okay, I would like to say not all of those things have been refilled since.
And we have people on the ice requesting drinks already. Poor Joan. It's a thankless job you have.
Did not all buy new fuel.
We're trying another draw here from Chad. Guard is okay here as long as the line is right. It's starting to over curl. And they're just having Todd sweep this. It looks like he's trying the plan B of just drawing behind that red. This looks really good. That is an excellent result. There is a very thin double, but it's got to be perfect, and it's tough. I don't know. That's a really good shot from Chad Alakipon there. Really two great shots. When Chad's on with his draw weight, he's one of the best, and he showed it right there. That's a great shot. Let's go back to sheet 1 and see what's happening there. danger sheet.
Obviously, I can tell you where I'm here.
Looks like Rocco was able to pick out one of those stones, but not get the second one.
I love that.
And now Oliver gets his guard there. So now he's got one on the side of the forefoot. Sitting shot. Rocco wants to chase after it. He wants to throw hack weight, so something that just gets around that guard that was just thrown. And get that yellow. It's not the end of the world if he hits the yellow because it opens it back up. The problem is that where that yellow is positioned relative to the tighter center guard, the other yellow, based on how that yellow gets hit, it may just hit the center line yellow and roll back as another guard. So there may not be a good miss here if you hit that yellow. And Ronka seems to be looking at maybe running back that yellow as an option. It does look that they're sitting 2, 3, 4. I think that one's biting on the left there. It looks like it is. So maybe they're trying to just rip this guard. If you miss on the inside, that's actually not terrible. You open it back up, force them to throw the guard back. But doubles there. They did one before a couple ends ago. Stone from Tion is on the way. They're trying to hold for line. It is going to hit the inside, as I had mentioned, but that's an okay miss. It does take away that fourth count, but I don't think Merrick is going to lose too much sleep over that. I don't think he's necessarily banking on that. It's now forcing Oliver to have to guard his one lonely yellow rock in the house.
I know, that's where the broom, right, is coming out this way.
And just because I'm biased. Second, let's go back to sheet 3, where the guard was successfully put back up by Team Oliver. So War is going to try to come inside out. Very tight pour. I don't even know if it's there, but there's a lot of good misses to at least open something up. It looks like it's really close. It was close. It was close, but unfortunately just a little bit overswept. Again, it had to be perfect. It did roll enough where red is at least sitting second count, but no longer third count. And it is open again, so not a terrible miss. Ideally, that yellow rock that rolled to the back, biting back 8, would have rolled out of the house. Then it would have been a good miss all around, but still an acceptable miss. Oliver's got to either guard or put a second counter in. Let's go back to sheet 1 again. Oliver threw another guard. This one's a counting guard. This is probably sitting third shot now. So Merrick's got to be careful. If he hits that yellow, which it looks like he's trying to line up, if he hits that yellow wide, that could run into his red. And now he's in a world of trouble. Because then the shooter might roll out, that red might roll out, and Oliger might be sitting 1, 2, 3 going into the final 2 stones. So this is going to be a very high precision shot here. Getting waves from Todd Nohoff, that means he's happy. He's in a good mood. People tend to be in good moods when they're either winning or they're playing an end the way they want to play it. Not always the same when it's not going your way. I don't know why that is. I'll have to run some psych experiments on that. But I do not have a psychology degree. I do have a sister-in-law who does have a psychology degree, so maybe I'll ask her afterwards why it is that when people are losing, they seem to be just a little bit more upbeat. This is Brad Johnson on the call, who may or may not have thrown a couple tantrums in my time. And by in my time, I mean just last week, so I'm one to talk here. Don't know why that is. It's a competitive game. It's a fun game, though. And Rocca away with the takeout. Remember that if this misses wide, this could be a disaster. Missing arrow is definitely better than missing wide. And this looks like it's going to be good. It is going to jam, but that's okay for Team Rocca. That's okay. Did not take out their second counter. Once again, exposed shot rock. So again, similar to Rocca's first shot, last end. Potential danger brewing, but a well-made shot mitigates all concerns. Definitely couldn't miss that stone wide, and he didn't. Jamming was okay there. Looks like Noha and Oliger are talking about the plan A, plan B here. Plan A being looks like the guard. Plan B being if it's heavy, let's draw and get a second counter and not set up a double. As long as there's no double and we're sitting 1-2, we're going to be in a good spot here. At least steal 1 or at least force 1. Both are good results here. Stones away from Oliger, his last stone at the end. Weight looks a little light. They're trying to curl it with Chad here.
But they were mentioning about taking this stuff
It's going to get there. I was wrong about the weight. It is going to get there. They're going to try to kick their yellow and not set up a double. Okay. Alright, so double is there. However, it's not the optimal shot to go for necessarily. Because to get the double, you have to go wide on that yellow. If you don't hit it just right, you're going to do the same thing you did last end, which is give up that steal when it jams, or if it doesn't hit. I guess it didn't hit last end, but if you don't hit this double perfectly, you're giving up the steal here. As opposed to if you can find a way to just go after that inside rock, well then you're not going to get your 2, you're going to only get 1, but it might be a higher percentage shot to just score instead of give up the steal. But Rock looks like he wants to be aggressive here, wants to go for this double. Now the key is, if he hits it, he needs the shooter to stick around biting 8 foot, because there is that back yellow that's there. And actually, I don't even know if he tries to hit this double in a certain way, it might just, that one that's biting the button might jam on that back yellow. So honestly, I don't know if the double is actually that high percentage of the shot here. But we'll see. We'll see. Good chance he still gets 1 out of that if he hits it right. I just don't know if he gets the 2 like he's looking for. But maybe this is the easiest shot for 1 anyways. It's hard for me to tell up here in the commentator's booth. And the one that's not throwing the rock. Stone's pretty close for line. They have the sweepers swapping. This looks close. Ooh, and it just misses. And so there's a steal of 1.
I don't know, I just like his facial expression.
Very close to getting a double. I don't know if it would have gotten 2, but it definitely would have gotten 1 if that was, maybe a quarter of an inch to half an inch left of where it hit. Maybe hold the line just a tad bit longer. And after 4 ends, halfway through the game, it is 3-2. Team Oliver has jumped in the lead with back-to-back steals. And we'll do an around the horn here. Marsh feature game here. Two really good center guards, it looks like. Thrown from Rob Maynard, which has really been the story for the last few ends. They've been able to capitalize and get steals back-to-back ends, so lead play is important, ladies and gentlemen. You want to throw those stones right on the center line whenever possible. Pat Howard throwing a second one. So this is more of, if you remember way back in the broadcast, I was talking about splitting the house earlier. This is more what I like to do. Go the same side, because you have backing if you're deep. If you throw light, it's a corner guard for the stone you've already put in the house there. Yes, it does give up the double, which at the pro level is not a good result, but at the club level, how many doubles do you really expect to see here? And really, especially with how well those center guards are put, I don't know if chasing those wide reds is really a bad thing for Team Ronka here. If they're chasing those reds, even if they hit the double, they're not going to get the roll that they want, most likely behind the center. And here's a good shot. I mean, close to a double, doesn't get it quite. It does say shot rock, but it's out wide. And now Team Ronka has a couple decisions they can do. They can hit that red and stick, they can hit that red and roll in, they can roll wide, they can double peel the center guards. But that's why, strategically, it's one of those things where curling's really interesting, or something like that is a debate for skips, I'll say. It's, what do you want to do for forcing the other team to play your tempo? And there, really, two perfect center guards from Team Olger, from Rob Maynard, but then Olger decides to chase the wide stone, and who knows what's going to happen. But right now, Ronka's sitting 1-2, nice and spread out. Now Olger will chase those, or will go towards the center. So pretty much, similar situation before. Only difference is that now I guess there is a jam possibility with that back 8 rock. But similar to what it was before when Olger called the hit and roll for Chad. 2 stones, not really close to the center. Really nice setup for steal still, and decided to go for the hit. And now, in this situation, he is going to go for that draw. And maybe that red rock in the back is a factor, because he can always come down to it if it's a little heavy. And that at least sets up a force nicely and has the effect of taking both red counters out of play. Plus Chad's excellent at drawing, as seen there. He's done it a couple times now, and that's a nice draw. It is exposed, though. It's not enough coverage with those guards to really get there. So there is the hit and roll wide here. There is also the down weight hit. If you want to get a cross nose, you really don't want that to jam on the back red, though. Ideally, so we'll see what Brian Gagne can do here. When I announce this weekend, I'll have to look up phonetically what people's names are, make sure I'm pronouncing right. Between Samanak and Gagne, don't know if I'm actually pronouncing the names right, so I'm sorry if you guys hear this and hate me for it. There's other reasons to hate me, but it's just another one. So Brian misses a little narrow, and effectively peels one of those guards. Not a bad miss, but I presume with how good of a rock that is from Olger, he's going to want to throw something to guard it, or as it looks like he might be trying to be aggressive here, freeze down on top of it, with the miss being light. A lot of good options here. A lot of good misses too, productive misses. That's really how you can control a game without hammer, is if you get in a position like this. Todd Noha here, he can miss this. Sort of like I was talking with Anthony Lowry earlier. 15 feet short, and as long as the line's right, it's a good shot. When you're chasing, and you need to make a perfect hit, not necessarily as many good misses. It's all about those good misses, especially at the club level. They have Rob Maynard sweeping the stone. Right down to, give a little tap. Does set up a double with big weight if they can get just skinny that guard. Most likely you got to get to nose, and that looks like what Merrick's calling is trying to get to nose. But they are sitting 1-2. They are sitting 1-2 in there. Peeling the guard's not a bad result here. Obviously not the desired result, but flashing would be a very bad result here if your team Ronka. And this doesn't look like it's going to be wide. This looks like it should be okay. They have Pat Howard on it immediately to sweep. See if this can skinny that top guard. Pat is a strong sweeper, but it is not going to get around. But as I said, that's the productive miss. Rather that than flashing. Now, Olger has no guards. Does have 2 nice rocks there, but they are doubleable, so he's really got to get a guard down here. And it seems like he's more interested in possibly forcing by the looks of what he just said. Up there he goes. Calling the guard. Considered doing a hit and roll with the red. Kind of sit with a mass of yellows in there. But I think this is a spot where you're controlling the game. You've had 2 back-to-back steals. You're in another great position to steal. I think this is the right call from Team Olger. If you were up 6, then you could consider hitting that red rock. But you're up 1. I think you just stick with the rhythm that you guys are in right now without hammer. And this stone's a little wide, a little heavy. If Chad is sweeping, it's going to effectively work. It's going to be a little tighter than they want, but you never at the club level bank on a triple being made, and you got to throw big weight to get that triple if it's even there. You probably would only get 2 out, and you'd leave the shooter if you hit where you want to hit on that top yellow. So I think it's an acceptable result for Team Olger there. This one's a little wider, it looks like. A little bigger. Have Pat Howard sweeping. Let's see how many stones get out of play here. It's going to be a fun one if it hits. It looks like it's going to miss where they want to hit it. And it's just going to effectively peel that top one. So basically the same situation we're just in 2 stones ago. And Olger's going to call that same guard. So if you're Olger here, you want to leave it as a guard. Depth doesn't really matter too much. You don't want to leave it deep, as I mentioned before. You don't really want to set up the triple, even though it's a tough shot. So you'd like to leave this in the guard zone. You probably don't want this, at most, maybe just barely biting the house. But even then, why does it matter? Red is sitting 3 and 4 anyways. So I think you just leave this as high as you can. And the ideal miss is probably, line-wise, probably missing wide, but I can see arguments for both. Well, this looks like it's going to be heavy and going to, again, possibly give up a triple here. It is a lot of stones, but if Merritt can throw big weight, he can at least get 2 of these out of play for sure. In this one, he can actually get 2 out of play and get the shooter to roll, which would leave him sitting 2, 3, 4 with a wide open yellow that Jeff Olger needs to throw a perfect guard on, or put a second counter in the house to just minimize the risk. So this could be a end flipping shot right here. We've seen Dion Ward try to throw this line twice. Once a little narrow, once it looked like a little wide. Obviously it is very weight dependent as well. We will see what happens here. Outturn, normal takeout. Rock on the hack. And he's throwing it. Looks like he popped it a little wide if I'm looking at the line. And they do have Brian trying to push it, so it does look like it's wide. And with the weight, it's going to be hard to get that to come back. It's going to get 1 stone out of play, but that's it. The the shooter will roll out of play, and so effectively the same thing that Dion just did. Peel the top one, leaves the stone. They're going to do the same thing with Jeff again. At this point, I may consider, since this is the last stone and there's only one stone left for Team Ranka, if you draw it down, as long as you don't fear them actually making a triple, there's probably no risk of gluing on top of that yellow. If you glue on top of that yellow in the 4-foot, I think it's very difficult for them to get a triple. Unless, of course, you stagger it where it forms kind of like a V shape, where if you're looking at the camera here, maybe the bottom of that first G in Ruggerio's, if the stone's like there, it's probably not a good spot. But if you're on the outside, where it's like 3 in a row, connect the dots, it's going to be almost impossible to get that triple. That middle stone's probably not going to go anywhere. Or the top stone won't, but this one looks a little wide. Rob Maynard's pushing it, and they are going to try to sweep it for third count, and they will get it. That's a really good spot. That's a really tough triple to hit. I mean, if you can throw Brad Gushu, there's a shot there for 3. But you gotta probably hit outside nose on that yellow, get across the face on that 4-foot yellow, and then hopefully it spills all the yellow stones. But looks like Merrick does not have that kind of weight, and reasonably is going to try to throw a draw, maybe a heavy draw to like bump that yellow on the button back a few inches, and hopefully get shot out of it. At the very least, cut him down to 1. Make it another steal of just 1. See what Ranka's going to do here. And it's going to be light, and that's a steal of 3 for Team Oliger. And this game has swung around completely. It is now 6-2 Oliger after 5 ends. And with that, I will have to sign off for the evening, as I have a wife at home that is waiting for my return. So I will head out, hope that this has worked, and I will have to listen back. Thank you to all who have listened tonight.